Hi there. Welcome to Aaron's Wine Talk. Once again, we're going to talk about today a sparkling wine made by the traditional method. So I'm going to talk to you about how bubbles are created in the wine. This is a Sicilian wine. We normally talk of sparkling wines about champagne, but remember that when you call it champagne, it has to come from the region of Champagne in northern France. This wine is different. This is coming from a hotter climate. That is in Sicily, much more heat. And to make a sparkling wine, you need very high levels of acidity and low levels of alcohol. So it's much more comfortable to produce a sparkling wine mainly in a cooler climate. But in a hot climate, in Sicily, there is a way of having more acidity, and that is altitude. In fact, the vines are grown 550 meters above sea level. You remember that Sicily is very mountainous, so when you plant high in altitude, it gives much more coolness, much more refreshing acidity in the wine, which is very important when you want to make it sparkling. The alcohol has to be very low. So when you pick the grapes, they have to be picked something like 10% alcohol, 10.4, 10.5. That should be the level of alcohol when picking. Yeah. In fact, this wine is from Sicily, which is produced by Principi di Butera. I have to thank Alberto for this from Charles Gregg, who supplied this wine, and definitely something which should be known, because to make a white wine from a black grape is not easy, because when you press the skins, color can come out from the skins of the grape. And in this case, the grapes were picked probably in August. Yeah, and therefore, when you pick early, they will be slightly unripe. The levels of acidity will be higher, plus the sugars will be on the low side. So the level of alcohol will be low when you produce it, something like, as we said, 10%. But this is, yes, 100% Nero d'Avola. The French would call it a Blanc de Noir, which means a white wine made from black grape varieties, yeah, which today is very much in fashion. It's not a Blanc de Blanc. A Blanc de Blanc will be made from white grapes, yeah, but this is only 100% Nero d'Avola, which is the local indigenous grape of Sicily. It grows there mainly, and mainly in the town of Avola, but this is coming from the Caltanissetta area, which is the south part of Sicily. You have the cool sea breezes coming from the South Mediterranean part, which is very close to Malta area, and that helps to give more acidity in the wine, the breezes of the sea. Plus, it's a moderating of hot temperature, it's a moderator. Plus, the altitude will give more acidity in the wine. And this one is practically brut, meaning this is totally fermented dry. That's brut is a sparkling word that we use, which is even more than dry. It is only up to like 6 grams per liter residual sugar, but this is different. This is a pas dosé wine, which means that the last stage of the traditional method process is not being performed, and no sugar or more wine is added to it in the last process. In other words, it will be extremely dry when you come to taste it. In fact, pas dosé wine will have up to only 3 grams per liter residual sugar. Residual sugar is sugar that has not been fermented by the yeast, basically. Yeah, and pas dosé or no dosage would mean such a style. Yeah. When you come to pour sparkling wine from the bottle, it's very important to see the mousse. Yes, the mousse when you pour it in the glass. Yeah. In fact, when you pour it, look at this when I'm pour. Can you see a long, persistent mousse when I pour it in the glass? And that long persistence in the mousse means a traditional method. You cannot pour it again. If I pour it again, just like that, there's no mousse. Just a little. Yeah? So the glass has to be kept clean in order to extract that persistent mousse. Persistent mousse indicates the fantastic method of traditional method. During the traditional method, the grapes are picked by hand. You cannot pick by machine because they are vertically basket pressed. So the grapes are pressed whole in bunches without removing the stems, so that there is no extraction of color from the skins. In other words, they will be given a gentle pressing, and that gentle press will give complexity and elegance to the wine, especially when you are rupturing the skins. A heavy abruption of skins will give astringency and bitterness to the wine. They ferment the wine in a tank as a normal dry white wine, and then they place it in the bottle. The bottle is very thick. It's like 1 kilo, basically. The weight of a kilo is to withstand the high pressure of 6 bar pressure in the wine, which is equivalent to the pressure of a tire of a truck or a bus, and that is very, very big, potent type of bomb that can have. A normal tank method wine will have like a 3 bar style, but a 6 bar is something to note of. A normal bottle of wine will weigh like 440 or 450 grams per bottle, yeah, but definitely much heavier and strong for a high pressure wine. After the wine is made, they transfer the wine into this bottle, and then the same bottle that is served, and they add sugar and yeast. We call it liqueur de tirage. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the traditional method process. In Italian, they call it the Metodo Classico. In fact, it is labeled as Metodo Classico. So when you see those words, classic method, Metodo Classico, traditional method, Méthode traditionnelle, they all mean the same thing. It means that the wine is made with this method that I'm talking about. Yeah, the traditional method process, which was also known as the method champenoise, but we try to avoid it because of the word champagne, which is legally protected today. So, when the wine then is added with sugar and yeast, liqueur de tirage, they close it, and there is a second fermentation in the bottle. And that second fermentation in the bottle will create more CO2. CO2 will be created at up to 6 bar pressure, and that would last 4 to 5 days approximately in a cellar. And then the wine is stored in a horizontal position to mature. And that maturation period is called yeast autolysis, an autolytic character to extract yeast, biscuit, bread, toast, sediment in the wine, which gives it food to the wine, nutrients to the wine, but also a very high level of complexity. And we will see this when we come to smell it and come to taste it. When you smell bread and biscuit, that would mean a traditional method sparkling wine with at least 24 months aging on the lees. Lees is dead yeast, yes. It will be unclarified, this wine. To clarify it totally, they need to place it in pupitre, special type of racks that literally, with riddling the wine, it literally moves the sediment down towards the neck of the bottle. And like that, the wine is clarified. That would take a process of like 2 3 weeks. After that, then there is a process of freezing the sediment. The French call it dégorgement. By freezing the sediment out of the bottle, the ice will form, will trap the sediment, and as soon as you open it, the ice together with the sediment will be totally ejected from the bottle. And this means that the wine will be naturally clarified. This is why sparkling wines are slightly more expensive. They tend to mature, good quality ones will tend to mature more in the cellar, on the lees. We call it yeast autolysis. And then there is also manual laborious methods of the remoulage process, the moving of the sediment, and also the freezing of the sediment, dégorgement. The cork is double the size of a champagne bottle or a sparkling wine bottle, and definitely to withstand the high pressure of the pressure, that 6 bar pressure that you have. On the appearance, then long persistent mousse. You have very fine sized bubbles. Fine sized bubbles can be analyzed just having a 3D effect between your eyes, and you can see them rising in the middle of the wine. That will indicate a traditional method style. When we have other style of methods of making a sparkle, the bubbles will tend to be larger, and that will not indicate a traditional method. But till now, I have indications of a Metodo Classico style, and also that beautiful mousse was long and persistent. I've got a pale intensity. That pale intensity, ladies and gentlemen, is giving me a green color. This is very, very, very young. This is a non-vintage, meaning that the grapes were picked from different years, in 3 different years, normally they do it, so we call it non-vintage. A vintage would be one particular year that they would pick the grapes, but that green color is giving me still signs of youth. So this wine was sold probably maximum last year or this year. It is something new which the producer Principi de Butera have just launched. And I think they have done something very good for themselves and for the country and for the region of Sicily. So still a youthful color still can go on in the bottle. Green is a sign of youth. Still needs to develop into lemon. On the nose, I get that medium plus intensity. I get that yeast autolytic character of bread, biscuit. I get some brioche, very elegant toast and sediment in it. Side of leaves, that is autolytic character. Primary fruit, lemons, rich limes, lots of grapefruit in it. Uh, and slightly peach and apricot on the nose. And that is more a reflection of a hot climate. Yeah, when the fruit ripens and becomes more stone fruit in character rather than citrus. I get some florality in the wine, white flowers like honeysuckle, and I get also complex hints of minerality. The soil is calcareous clay and bit of gravel, and that would give some minerality to the wine, which I smell typically on the nose. I've got a very good combination of all these. Fantastic. On the palate, what hits me first is that minerality on the palate, that stoniness, mineral earthiness, that is typical of terroir characteristics again. Yeah, yeast autolysis, biscuit, bread, brioche, toasty, very dry, brut. Literally, this is pas dosé. No wine and sugar is added to the wine to top it up. And basically, this wine will be totally even more than brut, much more dry. The acidity is extremely high. I feel it here on the sides of the tongue. It waters your mouth. It gives elegance and freshness to the wine and also longevity. That acidity cuts salt in food and fatty food, like shallow frying and deep frying, and you won't have a problem for the cholesterol levels. Body will be medium minus. Normally, sparkling wines will not have a very full-bodied style because the sparkle is very important in a sparkling wine, and the finish is quite nice and long finish. I still taste the yeast, the biscuit, the sediment, the toast. It lingers on the palate, and must say that this wine is extremely elegant, made from a black grape variety, Nero d'Avola. As a conclusion, I would say that this wine is very good in as a sparkling wine. I think this wine is ready to drink now, but you can keep it for at least 6 to 8 years in the bottle because of the good level of acidity that it has and the complex minerality and autolytic character that it has. As food combination we already talked of, it can be also very good with the seafood, white meat, fish, smokiness in the fish as well, even a smoked salmon. That yeast gives hints of smokiness in the start. And also bread with bread in the wine, canapes in the food. Canapes are normally served with a very good aperitif, and this would be a fantastic aperitif to start before a meal. Like welcoming guests in a wedding, starting with a fantastic sparkling wine like this will match the bready characteristics in the food. Plus the saltiness of the food of canapes like anchovies, salamis, prosciutto crudo. All these are so salty that it is cut with the acidity in the wine. Yeah. So enjoy this wine, and I hope you really enjoy this Principi di Butera Nero d'Avola from Sicily by Chance Grec. Thank you very much, and see you for wine number 7, sorry, very soon. Thank you very much.